good afternoon, or good evening almost. So I slept a little bit. Well, here, things are as usual. The dogs are barking, the fleas are flying, and the report creating secret spies, agents of the famous Israel intelligence are creating reports. Seriously, you can't get used to humiliation. I mean, no matter how much you're being humiliated, you can't get used to it. I mean, maybe that's what they want, like the Israelis. That you will get used to humiliation, but you can't. Even though you are subjected to it for so long, you can't get used to it. I mean, why should I do things because I've seen like a bunch of monkeys, less than monkeys? I mean, I don't know, like prehistoric life forms that are, I mean, roughly shaped as humanoids are doing all sorts of like actions. Why should I do the same actions? I mean, because you wanted to? I mean, yeah, I mean, I shouldn't care about it, but I do. I mean, honestly, I do. I mean, I can't get used to this kind of like ridiculousness. I mean, this. Why don't you have any other method like besides sending this? I mean, barely human like creatures to perform all sorts of ridiculous actions around me with the hope that, I mean, after 40 years that it doesn't happen, suddenly I will imitate the actions of these vaguely human creatures. It doesn't happen. It's not happening. 40 years, I mean, you keep trying, and I mean, I really shouldn't care, but I mean, and I always say that, I mean, I treat these people like, all around the place, like as props, like, part of the background, like, you've seen the TV series The Walking Dead. I've seen the several good first seasons. I don't know, maybe 3 seasons or 4. Then I kind of like I lost interest. But I mean, the interesting thing about it is that, I mean, initially the zombies are like a main focus. The walkers are like, I mean, they're so they are fearsome, and you are like But I mean, after some time, they're like, I mean, they become mostly like props, like it's something in the background. Like most of like the drama and the action is between actually humans. Like, I mean, conflicting factions of humans, and sometimes they use the zombies as weapons against each other. But I mean, mostly, and there are many scenes, people just talking or doing their stuff, and there's like drama, and in the background you see like, I mean, zombies walking. I mean, and it's kind of so you just get used to the fact that, I mean, yeah, there's like human life with drama, action, love, betrayal. I mean, values, and zombies like on the background. It's interesting. Like, I mean, like, I mean, the creator of the show, I mean, makes you like get used to the fact that, I mean, life can continue with all the intricacies of life, of human life, with zombies walking on the background. I mean, because they get used to it, and they're not dangerous because they have ways like to mitigate like any kind of like, I mean, risk. And mostly, I mean, so, and the drama is more and more centered around like the different factions of surviving humans, and the zombies are just walking, just there. I mean, so I mean, I tell myself all the time that this is kind of like that I need to live. Like, I mean, of course, I rather not live around zombies, but this is impossible. So I mean, given the circumstances of my life, I mean, I try to adapt like the stand of, I mean, yes, these are zombies. I mean, they are just there. I mean, just don't listen to them. Yes, they shout, they threat. I mean, but I mean, mostly they don't like use violence, and if they do, you need to call the police, and then they stop. Like, I mean, but I mean, mostly they are just props. They're human props. And I tell to myself, but I can't get used to it. I mean, I can't. Something in me is revolting against the idea that things that generally look like humans, I mean, the general shape of a human, I don't know what they're made of, like carbon-based or not. Maybe, chips of wood or plastic inside, I don't know. Certainly no brain, I mean, certainly. I mean, it's hard for me to get used to the idea that these are actually props in a movie. Like that, they are just there, and sometimes they I mean, all sorts of like voices are coming from their mouth, but it's not really, it's not connected to their brain because no such a thing exists. It's actually connected like using Wi-Fi, like, I mean, like a UHF, like, a Kochler chip, like to the phone, and from there to the Shabak headquarters, and I mean, and like there is a horde that I mean sits there, and I mean, you know, just I mean, out of boredom or I don't know what. I mean, her own disgust of life. I mean, just spouting all sort of like I mean, very intelligible lines that the zombie should utter, and that's what it's doing. And I mean, you don't need to think about too much. It's just I mean, it's just the background of your life. It's like a פכפוך הנחל, like they say in Google, like, you know, like I mean, the background noise of like I mean of a romantic river, like you know, in the nature, or like I mean, פכפוך הנחל, פכפוך המים בנחל, the uttering of a zombie, I mean, like you know, zombie uttering lines that were created by bored and disgusted of life slut in, you know, the Shabak headquarters. פכפוך הנחל, but I can't get used to it. I mean, they look like humans. I mean, if they could look like, I don't know, alien from Alpha Centauri B or Theta Z or whatever, you know, green and stuff. I mean, it would have been much easier for me. But I mean, there is something in my brain that, I mean, I watch them and they look human. So, I mean, there is the constant expectancy, I mean, the automatic expectancy is hardwired into my brain to treat them as humans, but they are not. I mean, they are obviously not. Props in a movie. Anyway, regarding art, the problem with Full Metal Jacket, I thought about it quite a bit. I think about everything I do because I don't want to just, rush to, to actions, is that I actually mentioned this issue, but I thought about it, like, more seriously. Like, even things that I say, like, half jokingly, I mean, they can have meaning, so that people can actually eat it. Now, this, I mean, it might have, like, I mean, all sorts of, like, I mean, unintended consequences, and I need to think about it a little more, like, before I kind of, like, I mean, use the fleet, like, I mean, to actually multiply it all around the globe, because if this could backfire. I mean, you need to think about this stuff. It's a life form, not a microscopic life form, that contains the neurons in it, like me or like, the Titans. And this was demonstrated under the microscope. This is the fact. I mean, it's a fact of life. It's like there are neurons in its body, like visible, like under the microscope. Like even in not that big magnification, like 64 magnification, you see quite a bit of them. That means that it's like full of neurons of the robots. And it's not that small. It's actually, I mean, insects are not that small, but I mean, just a tiny bit bigger than that, and were used as food. I mean, not only in the past, although, I mean, famously, I know, it's famous, like, in the Jewish law, I mean, to say that the Yemenites ate them, because it's kind of, I mean, a little bit surprisingly, it's kosher, like, I mean, locusts, like, I mean, even though it doesn't look kosher, but it is actually, so, but I mean, normally it wasn't eaten, like, I mean, throughout the ages, but there were exceptions. I mean, and somewhat in Yemen, like, I mean, they didn't have much proteins, and they mainly subside, like, I mean, they lived on carbs, like, I mean, on simple carbs. But I mean, yeah, I mean, they used locusts as protein source. Actually, it's I mean, objectively, it's a very good, I mean, it's a very good protein source. I mean, the Full Metal Jacket is actually a good metal source. I don't know if it's a good protein source, but should say that, I mean, things not much larger than that actually were used as food for humans. Just to say that it's not like, I mean, people can overcome, like, the disgust factor, and Titans in general are not the disgusted, like, I mean, they eat all sorts of stuff, they are more lenient with, like, their food preferences. In general, of course, I mean, it might vary between people, but the issue is that, I mean, if we're gonna, like, put billions of these, like, all over the place, people will, I mean, feed on it. I mean, they will feed on the people, but people will also feed on them. As it is known that it to be on, like, cases of locusts, like, all over, I mean, the history, that, I mean, yeah, they eat all the food of humans, I mean, which is very bad. Like, it's generally very bad, I mean, but there's, like, one good side to it. I mean, it doesn't, like, I mean, it doesn't, like, weigh the scale, like, against the bad side. It's pretty terrible, like, I mean, you don't have any food, but, I mean, the only kind of, like, I mean, positive side is that people can eat the locusts, and they actually did it, like, I mean, it was done, like, I mean, So I mean, it's something. Um, but in that case, it will mean that we will kind of, I mean, we add a substantial, I mean, source of the red mirrors to Earth. Something that does not exist in Earth. I mean, it does exist in Venus, of course, as you all know, but not in Earth. And it can have all sorts of like, circumstances that, I mean, I just don't, I mean, I don't know. There's so many things to think about. I mean, it might like be like, I mean, I mean, so many pathways. Like, I mean, there might be like, a world will be created that, I mean, people like, the lotus eater from the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey. That, I mean, people don't eat like food like anymore. That, I mean, they stop eating food. I mean, also due to the fact that there will be no food, but I mean, they will also do not want. I mean, they will stop like they lose interest in like regular food. Like, I mean, like cereals and legumes, normal human food, and instead they will just eat the tea. Like, I mean, just as like bona fide like food, like tea and metals, like, I mean, and carbon fibers. And like copper, like is written in the book of Job, like, describing the behemoth, like the behemoth, like, and his skeleton is like made of copper, So it's something like that. I mean, there will be like, I mean, monsters of tea that, I mean, they just, I mean, eat just that. I mean, I don't know. It's you need to think about it. So instead, I mean, in the meantime, I do want to advance. So what I will do now is kind of like I'm regressing. I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, to the basic plan. I have two pretty big canvases for the morning. We don't have many hours. I'll try to do it now, so it will be ready now, and then I will move to the night. And I'm going to tell you what I want to do, because I don't like surprises. It's not my style. You know that I'm not like a man of surprises. Like I say my truth. I stick to a plan. Of course, I try to devise a plan. It's not always possible, as you see. I mean, every plan has got so many, loopholes. But I mean, the idea now is to use the fleet first of all during the morning, and we don't have many more hours. But you should remember the morning and the evening, and the morning and the night. Like the day and the night, they are like, I mean, a little bit like, I mean, some of the morning, some of the day entering into the night, and some of the night entering into the day, like in the yin yang. Like, I mean, it's not, as I said many times, these are continuous functions. It's not like binary. Nothing in what the Neuros are doing is discrete, not like in secretive, but I mean in the mathematical sense. That, I mean, that, I mean, it's like the function like jumps like between values. It's always like, I mean, continuous. This also includes everything related to the day and the night. And so, I mean, with the hours that we have left, we will use the fleet to clean like life forms from the bodies of all sorts of people. And during the night, we will start a very important thing, which is frying of. I mean, according to the plan that I was outlined earlier this morning, I said that it's kind of like a procedure, but even procedures should have I mean, symbolic representation, not because they don't know what to do, but because it's important for, I mean, many things that I do, like, like in the art or in the performance art or whatever I do, it's not that really, I mean, like the fleet is waiting for a command, like, I mean, that they need me to say it so they will do it or so. It's like, I mean, a ritual, but an important ritual. That like also for the documentation, like, of the event, and also for, I mean, that, so it will be kind of like rooted in physical thing, because you don't see I mean, maybe you have like telescope, but I mean, normal people don't see the starships, and I mean, and the physical art or the performance art, which is also physical, is kind of like, I mean, it places like the event in like actual reality that is, of course, I mean, that is persistent, like you can remember it, and I mean, hopefully it stays like even for a long time. So this is like, I mean, I'm referring to the first stage of like the alien, quote unquote, alien invasion, which means frying like the earth, specifically at places where there are dead modern titans. So this will be done during the night. It will be done only during the night because to let people have the chance to just evacuate the places, and also because I want to use these hours maybe to start the very important job of removing life forms, unrequired life forms from the bodies of all sorts of creatures. This in itself would not be harmful unless you are unless you are fascist villain that places life forms in the bodies of people. But other than that, it could be argued that it's universally a positive effect. So let's try to hurry up. So maybe we'll get an hour or two from the day before we start the night procedure.